It is the front page Saturday Town Hall edition. We're doing propositions today, and we have got some great folks helping us out on the left, on the right, and of course, you. We just got a few to get through. We're going to try to do that before we pass the mic to Guy Black. Joining us today, David C. Turner III, community organizer and scholar. He's an activist from Inglewood, California, doing some incredible work in the community. Also being joined by Keith Hardeen. He's a constitutional rights activist, former use of force consultant for the LA and Orange County probation departments, and a Trump supporter, a black Trump supporter at that. Returning to where we were when we left off, Proposition 21. I'm going to have to speed through these, but this is a big one. Rent control. My follow-up question, starting with you, Keith Hardeen. We have a homeless crisis disproportionately impacting African Americans. We have an affordable housing crisis. We do have some gouging going on around rent. Why not take action to stop these problems by enforcing what is pretty moderate rent control?
Well, because, again, the philosophy is all off. I mean, it's unconstitutional to have rent control. Really, it is. Even though, well, it's amazing because I live in a rent control district, but I don't think it benefits, obviously, the people, because for 30 years or 40, we've had this, or at least for quite a few years.
Right, but Prop 21, it doesn't impose it. It just makes it gives local governments the opportunity, cities, if they want to create their own rent control. And you say no.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. It does give them the opportunity, which is, again, unconstitutional because it gives them more power than they are constitutionally allowed to have.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, district DAs are allowed to go after people for price gouging. That's not unconstitutional, but you think Prop 21 is. All right. David C. Turner, some people say that this is problematic for mom and pop landlords, black and Latino property owners, that, even though it says, it exempts people who have no more than 2 homes. Maybe someone has 3 or 4 and they're still just a small homeowner. Some people are for rent control, but think this is the wrong measure at the wrong time. What do you say to them?
Well, this particular proposition was not written right for the mom and pop landlords, right? To be clear, this proposition was written for corporate landlords, for the corporate billionaire landlords who are coming in, developing properties and then charging ridiculously high rates. It's written for those corporate landlords. For, let's say, for example, in a city like Inglewood, right, where somebody rent 1 month, right, was $1,400, and then the very next month is $2,400. It's written for those kind of folks. This is not written for the everyday mom and pop landlords, the people who converted their garage and renting it out to local college kids. Like this proposition is not meant for them. As a matter of fact, those folks are staples in our communities. We need, right, those mom and pop folks, right, who are helping to alleviate the housing crisis by renting out parts of their homes or renting out other properties that they have, so that way people can have access to it. This is not written for them. This is written for those folks who are intentionally trying to price gouge and harm our community.
Okay, so to be clear, if you vote yes on Proposition 21, you're voting to expand opportunities for cities to create rent control ordinances. If you vote no, you want to keep things the way they are. Keith Hardeen, you're a no. David C. Turner, you are a yes. So we're going to move on for now to another controversial one, Proposition 22. This is about rideshare and delivery drivers, establishing them as independent contractors as opposed to employees. I want to start with you on this one. David C. Turner, where are you at on Proposition 22?
I am a hard no on Proposition 22. I really believe that people who do rideshare, they are doing a job. They're doing an actual job, and they deserve to be treated as employees. They deserve to be compensated, right? For some of the things that regular employees are compensated for. To share a really quick short story. While I was doing my coursework at Berkeley, I was a TA and I was also driving Uber. right? Like, it would have been really helpful, right, to have, some of the, just have guaranteed wages, to have, to have some form, right, of employment insurances that we give to regular people with other jobs, right? Some of these folks are working 40, 50 hours a week and don't get those same privileges, right? So absolutely vote no on Prop 22 to make sure that we can give folks the resources and tools that they need.
Okay, Keith Hardeen, where are you on Proposition 22?
Oh, that's a great yes. That's an obvious yes for me. I think that it's important, again, constitutionally. I'm going to keep emphasizing that for the listeners. I want them to get it through their heads that it's very important that we go back to our constitutional rights. And it's important to say that independent contractor, that's what I'd like to be if I want to be a Uber driver, or I think that I have a right to do that. If I want to work part-time, I can work part-time, or I can work full-time as long as I want, and I'd be independent. I wouldn't have to be dependent on, the same type of responsibilities that a full-time employee would be. So, because that would be more costly for the company, and that would drive the business out of LA, which is what we need. We need the company for people that want to work as they want to work. And they're driving all the businesses away with this. So I say yes, everybody vote yes.
Okay, Proposition 22, what do you say, David C. Turner III, to people who say, and among those people is Lyft, that's saying they might just pack up and leave town if Proposition 22 does not pass? And what do you say to people who say, we're still dealing with unintended consequences of AB 5 where, some small businesses, nonprofits, are being penalized or, given unmeetable standards because, in the name of giving benefits to others, and it's just not working out that way?
Well, so I think this is twofold, right? First, for large corporations like Uber or Lyft or DoorDash, right? Like, these corporations have spent hundreds of millions of dollars in order to push an ad campaign to get people to vote yes when they could have just given that to their employees. So I'll probably I'll definitely stick with my position there. And again, right, like, this proposition is designated specifically for these app-based folks, right? I think that there are other initiatives, right? Like, so let's say, for example, when we start talking about things like a Measure J or like a Prop 15 that can create the additional forms of revenue that can support those smaller businesses, that can support those smaller nonprofits, right, to ensure that they can give the resources they need to their employees. But again, California voters, we have to pick those things. Right. If we really care about small businesses, we really care about small nonprofits, small organizations, and really ensuring that people can move forward in their own American dreams, and quite frankly, we need to start funding it. Right. So definitely still hard no on Prop 22.
Okay. And Keith Hardeen, just quickly, what do you say to people who say it's not fair for workers, low-wage workers, who are essential workers, right, out there delivering stuff, to be subsidizing companies like Lyft and Uber?
Well, we subsidize companies that hire us. I mean, how else do we have a job? I have a job. I work for someone else. I'm not. I used to be an independent contractor. They took that away from me, the state. So now I work for someone else. And if corporations are going to be punished, then how is it that they will be able to provide a job for people like me or others? And I think
so. You're a hard yes on 22. Okay, I want to go to Derek from Norwalk real quick. He has a question on 22. Go ahead, Derek. Short version, please.
Hello?
Derek, go ahead, please.
Yes. You guys pretty much hit the nail on the head with that. It's pretty much AB 5. We need to vote yes on this measure because it's misclassified information. They're just talking about Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash, but it goes deeper than that. It's dealing with contract workers like myself. as a commercial driver.
Okay, so you're voting yes on this. Well, let me challenge you, Derek. AB5 is a hot mess, and it's had a lot of unintended consequences. Is Measure 22 the right way to fix it, though? Should this maybe be something that's worked out between these big companies, labor, and legislators, as opposed to having the voters vote on something that may or may not fix all of the problems created by AB5?
Well, pretty much it'll start.
Okay.
With this measure passing, because it took a lot of people out of work, and me myself, I lost my job also.
I'm sorry to hear that. All right, Derek, I'm rushing you, but if you want to talk more about it, call me back on Tuesday. We have open phones on the front page, Tuesdays and Fridays, 4:30 to 6 a.m. David Turner, your response to Derek, because he pretty much is restating some of what Keith said.
Well, again, right, just really want to be clear that Proposition 22 is explicitly created for these app-based Uber-like companies to ensure, right, that we have proper employee protections, right? I want to be really clear about that, right, because I think, there can be this broader misnomer of, that this might include other things, right? No, this is for this particular group of folks. And in particular, right, if we want to ensure, right, that people can take care of themselves, especially in the midst of this pandemic, right, it's only fair to ensure that we have companies that are already making billions of dollars, right, that they just pay their employees their fair share, right? And they're not asking, right, for much. They're asking for health benefits, right? They're asking, for paid sick leave, right?
Got it. Okay.
Is reasonable.
Okay. So you're a hard no on 22, and Keith Hardeen is a hard yes. Trying to keep it moving here. There's just a lot of ground to cover. Proposition 23, this is about kidney dialysis, requires at least one physician on site. I feel like every ballot we have something on dialysis. Who wants to take this first? Okay, we'll go to you, Mr. Turner. Where are you on Prop 23?
On Prop 23, I mean, to me, I think, it's just quick common sense, right, to make sure that we have, physicians and other folks on site, right, during dialysis treatment. I don't think that's, I personally don't think that that's a particularly polarizing issue. I don't know why dialysis in and of itself is a political issue, right, we should just have access to doctors and stuff. That's a no-brainer. Yes, on 23.
Keith, where are you on 23?
Well, I'm a no, definite no. Again, I'm going to come back with the same argument of philosophy. Are we the property of the state, or are we free souls under God? And I believe that we are free souls under God. I say that because the state wants more power to regulate what doctors should do in the kidney dialysis clinics. And that's exactly what this is. That's all it is, folks. Just remember, the state, again, is coming with its draconian requirements and, laws or regulations.
Got it. Okay. I want to keep it pushing here. So you're going with a no on 23, and Mr. Turner, you're going with a yes on that. Let's go to 24. This is about this is a bit confusing. Permits consumers to prevent businesses from sharing personal information, correct inaccurate information, and limit businesses' use of sensitive personal information like geolocation, race, ethnicity, religion, genetic data. The reason I say it's confusing is because I kind of thought we already had this in the state of California. Do we not, David C. Turner? Where are you on Proposition 24?
Yeah, so right now I personally haven't taken a position on Proposition 24. I think I'm still also still a little bit vague on the language. Organizations that I work with have been, in their voter guides, have been taking more of a no position, right? But I know that there are a lot of, there's a lot of gray area when it comes to consumer-based rights that becomes our private information.
Yeah.
Right. So I really think that it is important that we do create laws around it. Right. So organizations I work with have been taking a no position on Proposition 24. I would like to do a little bit more research that way.
Okay, I want to say that the LA County Democratic Party is neutral on this, and that's interesting. The LA Times has come out with a yes on this. Where are you on this, Keith Hardeen?
I'm a definite no, and I'm going to go with something that one guy I really trust, and that's Senator McClintock. He is one of the California senator. Well, actually not senator. He's a congressional member now, I believe. But anyway, McClintock says that basically it's just another ploy to, unleash a new regulatory agency with vast powers to prosecute businesses that run afoul of the increasingly intricate consumer privacy laws of California. See, California is so highly regulated that many of these are deceptions, as I said earlier. So,
got it. Okay, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this one, but I get that you're against it. And actually, you're in alignment with the League of Women Voters on this one, and the LA Times disagrees with you. So that's the one that probably I'm going to definitely be doing more research on. Proposition 25, this is a huge one. Wanted to make sure we had time to talk about it. It basically eliminates the cash bail system. We already voted to eliminate the cash bail system in California in 2018. My research shows me that this is the bail bonds people and the insurance people making us vote on something we already voted on and voted to eliminate it. The commercials on this, very confusing. Where are you, constitutional rights activist, Trump supporter, trainer, Keith Hardeen? Where are you on Prop 25?
I like the way you introduced me. I love it. I'm a no on it. It's a definite no, because once again, catch and release. It's about that. The people are jailed until posting bail to assume or to assure that they should show up for trial. But this thing is another deception. I would say no for this one.
Okay. And Mr. Turner, where are you on Prop 25, getting rid of the cash bail system in the state of California?
Right now, I am definitely still conflicted on Proposition 25. From what I've heard from opponents, especially if Proposition 25 gets passed, the risk assessments, right, that they would use in place of the cash bail system are written and coded, right, to encourage, implicit bias and racism, right? So even though, right, black folks are disproportionately harmed the most by cash bail because we can't afford to bail out, we would still be harmed in this new system with these risk assessments, because there is no particular way to oversee how a judge can determine what is a risk, right, and how prosecutors can determine what is a risk. Now, on the flip side to that, right, cash bail is a terrible system, right? It is a system that privileges the rich and guilty, and not the poor and innocent. Right. The vast majority of people who are sitting in county jails are sitting there because they just can't afford bail. So again, right, like, I am definitely still conflicted on this. Been doing a lot of research on this particular issue. I personally, right, am still really conflicted and would really
got it.
Really
okay, so hopefully you'll call us back on the front page when you come to a decision, because you got to vote soon. This is, it's interesting. I have heard this conversation. People are worried that, these standards where they assess your risk to decide whether you sit in jail or make bail prior to your trial could be biased and definitely would have the implicit racial bias that is in all of our justice system. Why wouldn't that just be the next thing we fix? Why wouldn't that just be something that would be targeted? Like any new law, it's not going to be perfect right out of the box, especially something as huge as ending cash bail. It's, to me, it's like something like Obamacare. You get it in, you help people, and then you tweak it. Of course, we didn't have that opportunity because Trump ruined it. But my point is, wouldn't this be the first step towards taking wealth away as a determining factor in who wealth or poverty determining whether or not a person goes into jail. I mean, it's basically a debtor's prison, right?
Yeah, no, and with that part, I wholeheartedly agree. That's why I'm so conflicted, right? It's because, right, like I wholeheartedly believe that the cash bail system in and of itself is not only just bad, but it's predatory.
Right. So the question is, why not get rid of the system and then tweak and then go in and tweak whatever those standards are for, risk assessment, as opposed to just throwing out the whole thing?
Well, I think that's the challenge, right? Is that, doing that work would have to be, a pretty robust statewide strategy, right? It would have to be a robust statewide strategy, whether or not we're talking about, another voter or another proposition strategy, or whether we're talking about working with an assembly member or somebody in the California State Senate. So I wholeheartedly agree that would be the thing if the proposition passes, right? I'm just not too 100% sold on ensuring that this, as it's written now, is the right thing that we need. And I certainly trust my colleagues who have been doing the criminal justice advocacy who are saying that this proposition is bad.
Keith Hardeen, you like to talk about the Constitution a lot. This, to me, the idea that, whether or not you have the money determines whether or not you stay in jail is explicitly un-American. Why are you a strong no on Prop 25?
Well, in the first place, I'm going to stay out of jail as much as I can because I choose to obey the law. And I think that's the basic message that should be sent. And we should not have laws that advocate. Yeah,
but we have racism, and that determines that's determinative in many cases. Anyway, we're almost out of time here. So your bottom line, Keith, Mr. Hardeen.
My bottom line is, like I said before, when you get this in the mail, I'm sure people will get it. When they get the voter information, they need to learn to read it in light of the Constitution and see whether their right to life, liberty, or property is being violated. They have to learn to do this. This is something we have not been educated.
Okay, we just have a couple minutes left here. I want to give you guys each 45 seconds to, make a closing argument, something you want to say to the voters, because we actually miraculously made it through the propositions. And I thank you guys for cooperating and making that happen. Go ahead, Keith. You've got 45.
Yes, voters, everybody. I really appreciate coming on the show. And I know that I'm definitely opinionated, opposite of Dominique and so forth and others. But I want you to remember that I'm a black man. I grew up in South Central. I grew up in the late 60s and 70s. So I'm 64 years old. I've been around. I'm old school. And I believe that for 30 years, if you look back and see how long we have been going through these policies, every cycle, every election cycle, we vote back and forth, nothing changes. So I just want you to consider that as you vote. And remember that the ultimate goal should be to the Constitution. Thank
you so much, Keith Hardeen. David Turner, go ahead, please.
I think to the contrary, right, one of the things that I would definitely say is that, no, when you do vote on propositions, things absolutely do change. Right. One of the young people I work with who worked to pass Proposition 47, his father came home, right, from being incarcerated because of passing Prop 47. So things do change, right? These propositions have a very real impact on your life. If anything, when we talk about election cycles, the propositions are the things that are the closest, right, to actually affecting what your day-to-day is going to look and feel like. So please, folks, be sure to educate yourself on these propositions and be sure, right, to vote on these propositions. Please, please, please be sure, right, to do that.
That's time.
Make your vote and vote early.
Thank you so much, David C. Turner III and Keith Hardeen. I appreciate the conversation. Family, Guy Black is next. Until next time, Radio Free Family, one love.